So there's this notion that the acquisition of Bethesda and Activision is the same as blocking a game from going to another platform if it's a third-party game. So we'll take the instance of, say, Stellar Blade, which was first announced as Project Eve and was available or was going to be available for Xbox, and then seeing that at the time the game launched, there's no such conversations. To that, an audience member pointed out something from one of my videos. They said, it's funny how Xbox fans find themselves talking about money-hiding games, but then cheering for Xbox when they buy up whole publishers. Now, here's the thing about arguments that I really do like for us to do is we need to pretty much define very clearly exactly what we're actually talking about here, because it's easy to conflate it and somebody can come in with what I think is, a misconception of what exactly we're talking about and then mix it up in, and now we don't have necessarily a pure line of thought. So number one, money hiding games from my perspective is the third party side. If another developer is making a game and the game has, for the most part already been, strategically positioned to come out on all platforms, and then one of the big names goes in and says, you know what, why don't we pay you some money so that you can keep it locked to our platform? That is the anti-consumer practice of money hiding that I'm referring to. I'm not referring to buying publishers. Those are acquisitions, and if it's your publisher, it's your games to do what you want with. So let's not misplace all of that. And this person said, come on, guys, let's be real here for a minute. 360 was money hiding like mad. It's part of the reason why the system sold so well. Well, again, screw the 360 and its money hiding as much as I say screw PlayStation 4 and its money hiding. I hate the practice in the third-party sense, because the very first time I felt a certain level of disdain for the practice was when Xbox actually did it. You see, I was playing on the PlayStation for the most part, and to this audience member, I'm sure you're new to the Video Game Fight School channel. I'm a PlayStation fan, believe you me. I mean, I main PC, but when you find a console in my house that I've actually logged in the most amount of playtime, it will be PlayStation. And what I felt at that time was, a certain level of disdain for Xbox and what they were doing. In fact, I was so upset because I remember having played Tomb Raider back in the days on PC before I ever owned a console. And so when I, got my PS4, I was looking, man, there's another Tomb Raider game coming that's a sequel to the first, remake or reboot or whatever it is. And everybody was somewhat excited. And voila, I discover that this freaking game is going to be locked on the Xbox ecosystem. And I had just recently made a decision to go ahead and buy the freaking PlayStation, console, and it was frustrating. And I was not going to go pay another $500 to another console publisher so that I could play one game. And since then, that thing had stuck with me. Now that I'm a PlayStation fan, I'm not going to pretend like it's a good thing. I don't care that, that they're doing it. In fact, I feel like it robs us, the gamers in those ecosystems, of games that we could get that we bought the ecosystem or the platform for. I'm going to go back 6 years ago to Reddit. I just saw this randomly on the internet on a search, Rise of the Tomb Raider Xbox exclusive. And this person asked the question and said, why did Rise of the Tomb Raider, being a timed Xbox exclusive, cause such outrage? And long story short, they were playing it on Game Pass. They then did some research and found out that everybody was literally dragging Xbox for actually money hiding this game, when they had been doing it all the while, right? According to this audience member of mine. The comments are so funny. Someone says, because it's a sequel to a multi-platform game that was available to all systems. Interesting. I wonder if Stellar Blade was available. What was that? I wonder if Final Fantasy was going to be a sequel what was that? So again, people are not, I don't know if this person can keep the same energy across the road, but it is what it is. They then talked about how Uncharted was supposed to come out, but then it got delayed, and then people kind of had their eye on Tomb Raider and then didn't get it, blah, blah, blah. And then someone replied and said, because it was dumb. I still believe that timed exclusives are ridiculous. I agree. I even think they're worse than ridiculous in my part. Someone said, because if Microsoft does something everybody else is doing, it's considered a bad thing by the gaming community. I also agree. I mean, we're already seeing where, we're having this whataboutisms being pointed out, even though it's not the same thing, and we're going to get back to them. Someone said it released the same day as Fallout 4. No one in my midnight lunch lineup was there for our Rise of the Tomb Raider. Shame. It was a decent game that built upon its fantastic predecessor. Anyways, I thought I'd go back to show you guys that. And then the audience member of mine continued and said, part part about all this is when you always hear guys talking about how Sony is broke and Microsoft is this trillion-dollar company, yet poor little broke Sony, who can barely keep the lights and water running, is able to money hack games. I don't think you're being, you know what? Let me point something out. I don't know who these people are, and maybe there are people who've said that, PlayStation is broke, even though we know, obviously, from a financial perspective, both of them cannot necessarily compete as to who has more money. Microsoft does. However, I think what's going on here is not that Xbox cannot money hack games, because your comment on the top here literally said when Xbox is buying up whole publishers with plural, which shows that Xbox has got the dough. So again, you might have just kind of stepped on your feet while trying to walk forward with that argument, but it's okay. One thing that a lot of people don't really realize, and I've said this before, imagine if Xbox actually matched PlayStation's energy in the money hacking department. Imagine what's going to happen. Do you really think you're going to have a lot of games available to you if you're on a PlayStation platform? Like, think about it. If Xbox went nuts and said, Game Pass, and exclusivity too, here you go. Do y'all really think that PlayStation will be able to match it? Like, if they actually put it from a check-to-check perspective, like, all right, Phil Spencer and whoever is running, Herman, is, they both show up to you, you're developing a game, and they both knock at your door. And Phil's like, whatever you want. Herman cannot match it. The PlayStation cannot match it. And this is exactly the problem, because let me tell y'all something. You guys will go ahead and tout this thing over and over again, but eventually there will be a time that it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. So people are pretty much, in a sense, rooting for what I think is the worst practice that you can ever dream about happen from a gamer's perspective, where one person would hold the exclusive right to a game. They'll hold a game hostage so that you must go buy their platform. You cannot envision, Xbox doing it. Xbox barely did a thing in Bethesda's acquisition, and everybody was like, oh. Then they barely did a thing in the Activision one with cash that they had. And everybody lost their minds. There were trials. There were documents leaked. I mean, CEOs were getting dragged into court. Some were getting fired just because they actually matched the energy that PlayStation has been bringing. You do know Starfield was the reason they acquired all of Bethesda. So in order for them to just basically tell PlayStation, let's make a statement, they bought the publisher. So this is not a matter of anybody pocket watching PlayStation. Not in my case anyways. I don't know who may be saying this. We all know that exclusives are what sells systems. Yes, in the case of Nintendo, but in the case of PlayStation, nothing really sells their system other than just these practices that actually expose them as not being strong enough to compete with what it is that they have. Nintendo can compete with what they have. Xbox is confident now that they've got more, that they can compete with that, but PlayStation doesn't have, in my opinion, anything that I see them competing with. They're following Xbox at every turn. Xbox went to PC. They jumped to PC. Xbox is throwing games on their platform and Switch. They jump to Switch. And then they save face and act like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to do anything on Xbox. When in reality, their own developers, people who develop games under their own banner, like Predator Hunting Grounds, are like, okay, can we get the publishing rights so that we can actually go make money? Because that's the core of everything. No exclusive just means more of us will eventually leave and go to PC, which will make me happy as a PC guy. Since that's where all the games have been going lately. They've been going there for a minute, but yeah, whatever. I left for PC and don't think I'll be back to console at this rate. Honestly, I don't blame you. To be fair to you, I do not blame you for actually making that choice. The console, ecosystem has just been convoluted by everything going on. I think the reason we're here now is because costs and expenses have risen to a level that PlayStation looks super vulnerable, where, punching out $300 million games is no longer something that they can actually say, oh, this is a regular occurrence for us. And having eaten, I shouldn't say that. Punching out single player $300 million, games are not anything in their wheelhouse anymore. They want to do the live service version, which has now made them pretty much like everybody looking for money out there, and they cannot make exclusive live service games. It's going to tank. And then also the complexity of seeing Xbox's games being the most played on PlayStation even makes things more warpy. Like, in your mind, you're thinking, never in the day would I have seen that Xbox would be in a position where two of its main, sources of income in the live service area are literally being funded by PlayStation players. And it's not just, a one in a lifetime occurrence. It's like every single dang time you look through the data, you look through the numbers, the charts as to what games are being played every single week, week in, week out. you're going to see Minecraft, you're going to see Call of Duty being the top played games on PlayStation. So the market has changed. That's why, you're moving to the PC platform. And I've told a lot more people, if you're not moving to the PC platform, then it's only a matter of time. I don't think PlayStation, is in the position that many people have touted them to be, because now a lot of things are culminating. We're starting to do the numbers and the tit for tat, because even with all the money having PlayStation may try, and this I continue to maintain, Xbox still looks really comfortable and looks like a juggernaut with just so many games. They don't even need it anymore. Like, really, if you want to money hat your game with PlayStation, it's basically a timed exclusive. Even the developers find out it's not sustainable. Only so many PlayStation players will buy your game. Square Enix is the first case study, and I'm with not just one game, but with multiple games. And we're going to continue to see other case studies as well. As these companies just sign these deals because they want to get money up front, they're going to see their sales just basically tank. A lot of the talk about Stellar Blade, we're still at 1 million copies, max 1.5, maybe 2 million copies of a game that was heavily anticipated. I don't know if they've been able to turn their profit properly, but maybe they have. But their brand is hurt. Other games that will make their way into the Xbox ecosystem, or had already done so, are pretty much poised for a sequel, like Lies of P. But in their case, who are they going to sell a sequel to? The non-PlayStation buying player base? Non-game buying PlayStation base that's playing Call of Duty? All right, we'll see how that plays out. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate y'all. Talk to me in the comment section. Peace out.